This is the Wikipedia page for Myq Kaplan. Welcome to WikiListen, the podcast where we read Wikipedia pages and provide commentary. I'm Victor Varnado, KSN.
And I'm Rachel Teichman, LMSW.
As a very special treat, we actually have Myq Kaplan here in the studio while we read his Wikipedia page. Hello, Myq.
Hello, I'm here in the studio.
Yes, you are in the studio which is comprised of our separate places that we're recording from remotely. So
yes, our studio.
Wow.
Good night, everybody.
This is over. Okay, let's get started, shall we, Rachel?
Let's do it.
Myq Kaplan. Myq Kaplan, born October 7th, 1978, is an American stand-up comedian. Born Michael Kaplan, Michael, in Livingston, New Jersey, he is based in Boston and New York City.
Education. Kaplan received his bachelor's degree from Brandeis University in 2000 and a master's degree in linguistics from Boston University. While a student at Boston University in 2005, he won its Funniest Student contest.
What? Please explain, Myq.
I don't know if there's a lot to explain, but every year for some chunk of years that I was at Boston University, they held a Funniest Student competition. I had just begun really pursuing comedy. I wasn't yet, a professional working comedian. I was performing around town. I feel like most of the other kids were probably, I think maybe one or two of them had gone and performed outside of the school, but most of them hadn't. So it's not that I was a ringer. Like they were allowed to. Anyone, if you wanted to prepare, a Rocky montage to get ready for Boston University's Funniest Student competition, you could have done that. You could have done like I did and waited till you were in grad school for several years before entering the competition as well. But yeah, the joke I tell about it on stage sometimes is I won BU's Funniest Student contest, which means out of 32,000 people, I was the funniest of the 11 that were in the contest. So it was really fun. Part of the prize was I got to open for a working comedian, a touring comedian that was coming through, and the person I got to open for was Gary Goldman, and so that was a great pleasure.
And now you're friends with Gary Goldman.
That's true.
Wow. Congratulations on making a friend out of someone who used to be your hero.
Yeah, I would say he's still my hero and my friend, and it all started then. He watched it that night and told me one of my jokes was one that he had wished that he had written, and
that's a huge compliment.
It made me feel good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So yeah, the real prize was friendship.
Comedy career. Kaplan tours North America regularly and has performed over 1,000 shows at comedy clubs. Great statistic.
Thank you.
He was a semi-finalist in the 2006 Boston Comedy Festival and in the 2006 Seattle Comedy Competition. He was one of 9 finalists in Comedy Central's 2007 Open Mic Fight competition. In 2008, a reader poll by Boston's The Phoenix named him Local Comedian of the Year. He took part in Montreal's Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in 2009.
I would also like to say that I was also a finalist in the 2006 Boston Comedy Festival.
Feeling left out?
Beat me. What?
Aww. Do you feel he deserves it?
Myq deserves everything he gets.
I appreciate that. Also, I know that I moved to New York in 2008, so it may be that you and I met in 2007. Are you sure? Was it 2006? It could have been.
We were in the same one. We both got to the finals.
Oh,
Did you do that more than once?
Yes, I was in the semifinals and/or finals of the Boston Comedy Festival at least 3 times, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought that maybe I was wrong about the year then. If you were there
Wikipedia
doing it more than
is
once,
incomplete, perhaps. Yeah.
How could that happen?
I don't understand.
Television, internet, and recordings. Myq Kaplan has appeared on Comedy Central's Live at Gotham and in promotional work for the network. He has been featured on ABC News Now.
On December 16th, 2009, he performed for the first time on The Tonight Show. Kaplan also appeared as a contestant on the competition TV series Last Comic Standing during the summer 2010. He placed 5th in the competition.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
He is also a frequent guest on long-running comedy podcast Keith and the Girl.
Myq Kaplan has been a guest on the podcast You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes 2 times, one released on April 4th, 2012, and as a returning guest released December 20th, 2017.
Kaplan hosts his own podcast, Hang Out With Me.
On April 30th, 2010, his Comedy Central Presents special aired on Comedy Central.
Myq Kaplan's comedy album, Vegan Mind Meld, was released April 27, 2010, and his second album, Please Be Seated, was released in 2012.
In August 2014, Myq Kaplan's 1-hour stand-up special entitled Small, Dork, and Handsome appeared on Netflix for streaming.
Small, Dork, and Handsome still gets me. On February 14th, 2014, Kaplan was a first guest on Ken Reed's TV Guidance Counselor podcast.
On January 31st, he was the first guest on Bombing with Mike Dorval, where he talked about his joke writing and a joke that bombed for the New York Times.
Kaplan was also a contestant on the 10th season of America's Got Talent. He was eliminated in the quarterfinals.
Tragic.
Was America's Got Talent and Last Comic Standing similar?
There were some similarities, and there were also some differences.
What a great all-encompassing answer. Thank you.
I'm happy to go into it further if you'd like.
Sure.
I think Last Comic Standing, the fact that it was only for comedians was certainly one of the main differences. So your comedy was competing with other comedy, at least. I don't believe that in the grand scheme of things, we're not competing with anyone, but it was a showcase for our talent as opposed to, like, I feel like America's Got Talent was so much bigger. I felt more like a human being at Last Comic Standing.
Oh, I gotcha. And more like cattle at America's Got Talent.
Exactly.
Great.
Sacred cattle.
Personal life. Kaplan is also a musician, primarily as a guitarist and vocalist. He is a vegan, polyamorous, and once described himself as atheistic. However, he elaborated in a 2016 podcast that he has become more spiritual through use of psychedelics.
It's really funny. This is what I was laughing at right now, is because those people who would be mad that you said you're atheistic would also be mad that you got spirituality through psychedelics. Like they'd be like, "Oh, fine, he got better. Oh, wait, oh."
That is funny.
That was funny to me. I just imagined that person reading this.
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite vegan nugget?
Do you mean like a fake chicken nugget?
Yeah.
That is vegan?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I go back and forth between Nugs and Morningstar Farms.
I don't know that I've had Nugs. I've enjoyed a Morningstar. I guess I don't. Most of the time when I'm eating vegan nuggets, it's out somewhere, so I don't know what kind they are. Like, I don't purchase and create my own home-cooked vegan nuggets frequently.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We've never done this before, but I think this is a good idea. What we're going to do is we're going to read your list of credits, and then if we have questions, we will ask you a question, and then you'll give us a quick answer, and then we'll keep going. How about that?
That sounds good.
All right, let's do this list. Discography. Comedy albums. Vegan Mind Meld, 2010. Be Seen Media.
Meet Robot, 2013, Comedy Central Records.
Small, Dork, and Handsome, 2014, Comedy Dynamics.
No Kidding, 2017, A Special Thing, Records.
AKA 2020, Blonde Medicine.
I noticed that in 2 of these credits, the first one was Be Seen Media, and then there was A Special Thing Records. I'm just noticing that.
Oh, and then there was C Comedy Central.
True that.
And D Dynamics, comedy.
We're big alphabet people here.
And AKA was put out by Blonde Medicine, and both of those words end with E.
I have something to interject. Music albums. Please Be Seated with Micah Sherman, 2012, Be Seen Media.
Many Musics, 2016, My Grandfather Was a Spy.
Podcast albums. The Best of Superhang, Volume 1, 2014, Keith and the Girl.
The Long Shot, Season 3, Episode 318, Road Trips, featuring Myq Kaplan, 2015.
EPs. The Myq Mega Mixtape with Micah Sherman, 2014, Bandcamp, 9 tracks.
Singles. The Myq Mega Mixtape with Micah Sherman, 2016, BC Media, 3 tracks.
Wait, so the name of it was the Myq Mega Mixtape with Micah Sherman?
I think that's not part of the name. I think it's just reporting that the Myq Mega Mixtape, which is the name, was made with Micah Sherman.
Got it. Compilation appearances. Comedy Death Ray, Xmas CD, 2010, Track 3, How Hitler Saved Christmas.
Live from Jamestown, Late Night at Lucy Comedy Fest 2013-2014, Track 14, The Fast and Furious.
The Comedy Holiday Album, 2017, Track 10, Merry Passover.
Just for Laughs, Premium, Volume 26, 2018, Track 10, Children, JFL 2015.
Just for Laughs, Funny AF, Volume 6, 2019, Track 13, My Demographic, JFL 2012.
Film and television appearances. Films. JK LOL, Short 2009, himself.
Broken Mike, 2012, himself.
Like Me, 2014, himself.
Welcome to Bridgetown, 2015, himself.
Punching Henry, 2016, Zach.
Offstage Myq Kaplan, 2017, as himself.
Tasteless, 2018, himself.
Stalking Emo, not yet released, himself.
Got lots of cameos happening here.
I feel like these titles are commentaries on your personality because you're playing yourself.
Oh, yeah.
When is Stalking Emo coming out?
Oh, I do not know. It's been not yet released for very long.
Oh.
I can't remember. I could look up when I was interviewed for it. It's a documentary made by people who love Emo Phillips, and I don't know if they ever did include emo in it, or if they were only reaching people who knew him or knew of him and wanted to talk about him. But it was certainly years ago, somewhere between, I would say, 5 and 10 years ago.
Gotcha.
My favorite title on the films list is Like Me, because I'm reading it as if it's an imperative.
You're reading it correctly, in a way. That is a documentary made by Micah Sherman, the aforementioned. He was trying to learn about social media. He was trying to learn about himself, I think, but he didn't feel like he was good at social media at the time. And so he made a documentary trying to get better at it. And so the like in the title, Like Me, is the like in the like button. He does want you to like him, or I did at the time.
Well, I can't wait to check that out and like it. TV series. Louie, 2010, Myq Kaplan.
That is, you played Myq Kaplan, but not yourself that time.
That's true.
Comedy Bang Bang, 2015, Lenny.
The Comedy Show 2016, Mitch Hedberg.
Who is 2016, Voice.
Giving Up, 2017, Wake performer.
Tales from the Trip, 2019, himself.
Finally.
Comedy Central Originals, High School Fails, 2019, himself.
Broadway Comedy Club presents 2020, contestant/comic.
Mystery Mansion 2021, Eyeball.
Oh, eyeball. There's a curveball at the end of that with the eyeball.
It's not a curveball, it's an eyeball.
Comedy specials. Comedy Central presents 2010 on Comedy Central.
Small Dork and Handsome 2014, Comedy Dynamics /Netflix.
Stand-up appearances. Live at Gotham, 1 episode, 2008.
The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, 1 episode, 2009.
Last Comic Standing, 1 episode, 2010.
The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, 4 episodes, 2010 through 2013.
Late Show with David Letterman, 2 episodes, 2011 to 12.
Conan, 5 episodes, 2011 to 2017.
Funny as Hell, 1 episode in 2012.
Late Night with Seth Meyers, 1 episode, 2014.
Just for Laughs, 1 episode, 2015.
America's Got Talent, 3 episodes, 2015.
The Late Late Show with James Corden, 1 episode, 2017.
Paste Magazine, 1 video, 2018.
I am starting to think that maybe reading this list wasn't the best idea, but we're going for it. Videography, comedy animations, Jews and sea creatures, 2010.
Axes and Brains, 2014.
Highs and Lows, 2014.
Nothing, Everything, and Eddie Murphy, 2017.
A meditation to help you relax, 2020.
The Longest Sidewalk in the World, 2020.
Music videos, Bop 25 with Micah Sherman, 2012.
Movie Star with Micah Sherman, 2013.
Comedian's National Anthem with Micah Sherman, 2013.
Music's Fun to Play, 2016.
Sung Advice number 1 through 8, 2017.
Video podcasts, Risk, NYC Podfest, 2013.
Robert Kelly's You Know What Dude, number 162, 2017.
Never Not Funny, Talking Eyebrows, 2020.
Quip League with Moshe Kasher, 2020.
Linda Marcus Smith's The Comics Spot with comedian Michael Adam Kaplan, 2020.
G-Hole, Hanging with Mike, a.k.a. Myq Kaplan.
The Comedy Studio, Podcast Live, September 22nd, 2020.
Face to Face Time, number 22, 2020.
The Dave Hill Good Time Hour, October 5th, 2020.
The Ted Alexandro Show, episode 27, 2020.
Scott Neri, Is It a Mistake to Specialize? 2020.
The Rhett Sever Podcast, number 2, Existentialism, 2021.
I believe it's Rhett Sever.
The Rhett Sever Podcast, number 2, Existentialism, 2021. Thank you for the correction.
Oh, of course. Happy to make it as correct as possible. Now, can I work my way back from here to the top and
yes,
tell you?
Tell us what you got.
I do want to make a quick note that in the references section, in the notes section, it links to your MySpace.
That is funny. Oh, it sure does. In my
got
top
your
8,
old MySpace page?
Yeah, there's 5 people of my top 8, including Zach Sherwin, Micah Sherman, Shane Moss, Dan Hershon, and Baron Vaughn. They are
Nice.
Yeah, I like those are some of my tops. Okay, so for all the video podcasts that were listed, those all sound mostly like things that I remember, and I'm sure that I've done more video podcasts. The music videos, it's funny, like most of them are ones with Micah Sherman, ones from a music album I made on my own, and the sung advice are just YouTube videos that I released where I asked if people wanted advice, and I told them I would sing advice to them. I like them a lot. It's funny the things that they're putting on the same level as other things. The
I
comedy.
assume that some of the other videos had a lot more production and thought going into them.
I would say more production and equal thought.
Oh.
Thank you. I did a lot of preparation for those sung advice videos, but the production was me clicking on record in QuickTime. The other ones had directors and animators and other such. In the comedy animations, most of which were done, one was done by Jim Tews, a wonderful comedian. One was done by Greg Franklin, the first one, Jews and Sea Creatures. And then most of the ones in the middle were done by Robert Potter, who I believe is on Instagram as Rob Animation. And his work is so great, and he actually did one that's not on here that I'd like to add. I know I'm not allowed to add to my own Wikipedia page, but somebody out there. There's a new comedy animation, 2022. It's from my newest album, AKA, and the track is called Veganism, Gluten Freedom, and Thanksgiving. Okay, moving up. Stand-up appearances. It's funny also that most of these are late-night shows. Then one is Paste Magazine, which is a video that comes up on YouTube when you search for me, and it was a fun show, but it was not a TV show the same way that a lot of these other TV shows are TV. But what are TV shows anymore?
Does this jumble of information bug you? Do you wish it was categorized better?
I would say it doesn't bug me, and I do wish it were categorized better. But not to make it, not to unbug me. I'm totally not bugged. I'm not bugging. I'm neither bugging nor bugged. I might bug. I do bug sometimes. In the stand-up appearances, there's definitely some missing, including I did stand up on Kamau Bell's show, Totally Biased, and that was a fun set to do. I'm not sure if all the numbers definitely aren't right. Last Comic Standing, it says I did one episode in 2010, but I did, I think, somewhere between 5 and 10 episodes. That was the year that I was on it almost, every week from a certain point.
That could also be a problem with the source, like wherever they got the source from. Yeah.
Maybe they added it the day after they saw my being on it once and then never again. Also, The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, it says I was on 4 episodes, and that I think is technically true, but one of the times I was booked to do stand-up, and they ran out of time, and they brought me out at the end, and they were like, Myq was going to do stand-up, but he'll be back another time, and so I was just there waving in one of those episodes, and I did stand-up. So I think it is misleading to say that I did stand-up 4 times on The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. There were only 6 late. Only 6 lates, not 8 lates. And it says that I was on Letterman twice, and I'm pretty sure I was on Letterman 3 times. That's just me. I did play an eyeball. That's correct. All these things where I play myself, that is correct. Are you familiar with the comedy show in which I played Mitch Hedberg?
No.
And yeah, I bet now will you change your answer when I say that that's the name that they changed from Shtick or Treat. When they released a Strick or Treat Halloween comedy show on CISO. Rest in peace. Rest in peace-o. Some of the films are different than the others as well. Many of them documentaries or sort of like independently made ones. I don't remember.
So you just weren't running around from set to set demanding to play yourself. You weren't doing that.
That's correct. I was invited to play myself and all, to not even to be myself. I was invited to be on camera. I don't remember. Oh no, I do now. Tasteless. I'm excited now that I remember because it's where I met Ashton Applewhite, who is an anti-ageism activist and sort of alliteration enthusiast. Do you know Ashton was the originator of the Truly Tasteless joke books?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this documentary, Tasteless, it's really good. It's mainly about her and the creation of those books, and she's up to really cool things now. I had her on my podcast, Broccoli and Ice Cream, talking mainly about her anti-ageism work, but her first claim to fame was starting those Truly Tasteless joke books. And then the only other film I'd like to highlight is Punching Henry, I think is the most quote-unquote real... no, I'm not even quotes. It's the realest film I was in. It's Henry Phillips' sequel to Punching the Clown. I'm playing a guy named Zach, a totally different person than myself, which is
Sounds
cool.
like it.
Oh, yeah. I play like a social media marketing guy, I believe, who is trying to help Henry in ways that he doesn't want. And Henry's so funny. And also in that, I think so many other wonderful comedians in that movie. I think Sarah Silverman was in it. I think Doug Stanhope was in it. And the actor J.K. Simmons was in it. I was in a scene or two with J.K. Simmons. And
that's awesome.
Ate lunch together. And so if I were adding to this page, I would add had lunch with J.K. Simmons once or twice.
It's probably a good thing that Wikipedia doesn't allow people to add to their own pages.
It's true. And so let's see. We're continuing upward. Those compilation appearances are all correct. The EPs. It's interesting that under podcast albums, they have the Best of Super Hang, which is a podcast of mine from the past. That was on the Keith and the Girl Network. And then the Long Shot podcast is one that I was a guest on. But I guess there aren't that many podcast albums. So those are the only podcast albums I appear on. Here's a note about my music album, Many, Many Musics, which says it was released by the label My Grandfather Was a Spy, which is correct, and that's just me and my label. I found an old document of my grandfather's, who I never met, my father's father, and I was told that in World War II, he was was in South America during World War II. That might not be true. But why would I think it if it wasn't something that I was told? He was like, he had this document. He looked kind of like James Bond in it. So I was like, oh, maybe my grandfather was a spy. So I wrote a song called My Grandfather Was a Spy. I joined forces with a good summer camp friend of mine, Sam, who we recorded a bunch of music together. And then we called our band My Grandfather Was a Spy. We had the song. And now I had to come up with, when I released the album myself on Bandcamp, they were like, what's the record label releasing it? And I was like, My Grandfather Was a Spy. The comedy albums listed, the 5 stand-up albums that are there, those are correct. There is one additional album that I've recorded that only plays exclusively on Sirius Radio right now, and it's called Live in Between Albums, and was, I think, recorded in 2017 and released in maybe 2018, possibly 2019. Personal life, I am a musician. I am primarily a guitarist and vocalist. I am vegan. I did once describe myself as atheistic. And I have elaborated that I've become more spiritual through the use of psychedelics. I am no longer polyamorous. I am, for many years now, in a happily chosen monogamous relationship. Still a big fan and advocate of people being in whatever relationship models and structures they and their partner or partners want. But that is a detail that could be updated. Let's see, television, internet, and recordings. I have appeared on, I think most of these things are true. It says that I host my own podcast, Hang Out With Me. It's true that I did host that podcast, Hang Out With Me. Victor, you were on it at least once, if not multiple times. I now host different podcasts, one called Broccoli and Ice Cream, that I believe you've also been on, and one called The Faucet, which is usually just me spouting off. And let's see, I'd forgotten that I was named the local comedian of the year by the Boston Phoenix. I appreciate that. I did take part in Montreal's Just for Laughs festival in 2009. Also, I think in 2012, 15, and 17, if I remember correctly. And my education is correct. And here's another part that's specifically correct about it. It says, I got my bachelor's degree from Brandeis in 2000 and a master's in linguistics from Boston University, and they don't mention when I got that degree, and that's a great question because I'm not positive either. I think it was 2008. But yeah, I think those are... Kaplan tours North America regularly, that's true, and has performed over 1,000 shows at comedy clubs, which is...
Go ahead.
It's a funny number, and it's true, and that was... I'm looking at the source in the footnotes, and it was after I had won BU's Funniest Student competition, and maybe they interviewed me, if I remember. Yes, in BU Today. And so that was in 2007, I had performed over 1,000 shows. And now, in 2022, I have performed at least one more. I've done more.
I think that at the time... Obviously, 1,000 was a big number because you were like young and you were, and it was like in school, of course. And so they were just like, oh, he's performed over 1,000 shows. That was a big deal then, but now it's really funny.
It really, it's like the Dr. Evil $1 million.
Exactly. Over 1,000 shows.
1,000 shows. And one other, let's see. I was in the Comedy Central open mic fights in 2007. Just wanted to say there were a bunch of other wonderful comedians. Baron Vaughn was in it. Mike Vecchione, Mary Mack, Raj Desai, I think placed. I think Baron and Raj came in second and third, and I forget the winner's name. I bet somebody could look it up. And somewhere else, I don't see where it is, but he has been featured on ABC News Now. I think what that is when I was at BU.
A serial killer.
Completely unrelated to comedy. I started at BU in 2000. I started pursuing stand-up in 2002. So sometime I'd say between 2002 and 2004, the show, I think it was the show Inside Edition, they had a competition it was pre-BU's Funniest Student competition, but they just had a competition where I think there was singing, there was comedy, and then there was male and female spokesmodeling. And so there was a lot of people competing in the singing department. You got to sing for like 30 seconds. The spokesmodeling was just, I think you went up there and they looked at you. I don't actually remember what it was. But for the stand-up comedy, they were just like, I think you literally did like 30 seconds of comedy in the first round, and then there was a second round where you got to do maybe a minute or two. And I came in, I believe, third place out of 4 people. So I think in the first round, there were 4 of us. 3 of us were working comedians who also happened to be in school at BU, or aspiring people who were actually performing around Boston more than just that night. One was just a person performing only that night. But so that person was eliminated in the first round, and then the 3 of us went on to the second round. And I think I ended up the final version of it on TV. My friend Eric Charles Nielsen, a very funny comedian who won, they showed like one of his jokes, and they had some B-roll of me also performing, but you couldn't hear anything. But you could see me doing what you could imagine was stand-up on ABC.
It sounds a lot less exciting now, the way you explained it.
He's been featured on ABC News now. Yeah, let's not update that one. Let's just leave that the way it is.
Wow, this is great. And not only that was it great, it's exciting to have read your Wikipedia page and have you fact check it. That's kind of awesome. This may be a first podcast episode where something like this has happened.
I think so.
It kind of feels like when you're at like an academic conference of sorts, and then there's going to be a speaker, and then the person is reading their bio, but the bio keeps going and going.
It is like that.
Yeah, that sounds very entertaining, Rachel.
It sure is.
So entertaining. I will say this. Thanks for being on the show. Myq Kaplan, you are also going to be at Dynamo Kingdom.
Oh, yeah, that's
April 20th, which is which is an insane comedy live special that is going to be presented by Moment House and at the Chelsea Music Hall. You will be there live, freestyle rapping. True.
That's what you've asked me to do, and that is what I have agreed to do.
I can't wait to see.
I can't wait either. This is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited that you're part of it, Myq.
You make so many things, Victor, and I love them all, and I'm always happy to be a part of whatever you're doing.
Well, thank you, because you're a great part of whatever I'm doing.
Oh, yeah, thank you for inviting me to be myself.
This has been the Wikipedia page for Myq Kaplan.
Thanks for listening to WikiListen. You can find us at wikilisten.com and on all social media at WikiListen, except for Twitter, which is at wiki_listen.
If there's a particular page you'd like us to read, please let us know.